How you doing? This is Muata Greene for Asbury Park TV, your weather guy. And today, which is like about 5-6 days away from the beginning of the winter season, the summer season, the summer solstice, as we say, we're going to talk about the summer hot weather and your health. And the reference we'll use, which is deal with internationally, is the World Health Organization, WHO. We're going to talk about heat and your health and the factors that affect us when we're out in the heat too much. And that's number one factor is heat is the number one killer in the world as far as weather phenomena. So that's very important if we don't prepare for it. All right, let's look at the start at the beginning right here. The key factors for heat. Heat is an environmental and occupational health hazard. It's a leading cause of many underlying diseases. Cardiovascular, which is heart disease, diabetes, heat stroke, asthma, can increase the transmission of infectious diseases because remember, germs and viruses grow and become more prevalent during warm weather. During cold weather, they become hibernated. So that's why most people, can get some type of sickness in warm weather. Even though in the winter people tend to get sick because people are more close together in warm environment inside and then spread the viruses. But viruses spread and multiply more in warm weather. And you have some statistics here. It says between 2000, which is the beginning of this decade, to 2019, and it probably expands even now to 2025. And the number is definitely higher. I would say it's about 500,000 heat-related deaths occur each year, with 45% of this in Asia, 6% in Europe, and throughout the world. And like the United States, it's like kind of not as high on that because we don't have really a tropical climate, except in southern parts of the United States, like in the Gulf of Mexico area, Texas, lower, 48. But other parts of the world where they have extreme temperatures, it really gets to be a problem. Let's look at the overview. Let's move on up. What is officially a heat wave? A heat wave is a period where local excess heat accumulates over a sequence of hot days and nights. Heat waves are prolonged excess heat conditions are increasing in frequency, intensity, magnitude due to climate change. Because the climate is warming up every year, it's getting warmer, warmer, and warmer. And here on the East Coast, because the Atlantic Ocean is right there, the Atlantic Ocean is becoming warmer and warmer. And that's where a lot of the heat comes off of, the storms. Speaking of that, and I'll give a little quick thing later on about that, this year is projected to be a very high hurricane season because of the Atlantic Ocean is heating up. And most of the hurricanes start off the coast of Africa and they travel west to where we are. And the Atlantic Ocean is right where we are here. And the aging population is affected by that, by these things that I mentioned earlier, these diseases. Let's move up. Who is affected? Like I was saying, many populations in tropical and subtropical climates are chronically exposed to high temperatures. It affects the people psychologically and clinical factors in adults. Urban and poor people are more disproportionately exposed to heat because a lot of people don't even have fans. I remember myself as a retired EMT. I used to go to people's houses in the middle of the summer. Some people didn't even have a fan, which would be blowing around hot air anyway. And that's why a lot of urban cities have created cooling centers where people can go and cool down, because if they don't, this is the hardest part of the day, they're in an apartment up by heat, and they can end up having all these problems that heat contributes to. And then we say about how heat impacts your health. The amount of heat stored in the human body is determined by a combination of inability to eliminate heat generally out of your body, to cool down, high humidity, low wind, and high thermal temperature. That means if the humidity is high and the temperature is high, your body can't cool down, because how our body cools down naturally is by sweating. The sweating helps our body cool down. So if you stop sweating and the humidity is high and the heat is high, you can end up moving into a heat stroke and other things that can be going on that can take whatever medical conditions to a next level. Okay, what actions should we take about the heat? And this is very important. These are key things. Stay out of the heat during the hottest part of the day. Stay in the shade. Remember, the perceived temperatures can be anywhere from 10 to 15 degrees higher That's centigrade. So you add another 50, which in order to change from centigrade to Fahrenheit, you have to add 50, and that could be even higher. Like for instance, so if it's 60 here, if it's 60 centigrade, you're talking about 110 Fahrenheit. It says, stay informed about heat warnings. Usually you get the heat warning, just like you get storm warnings. That the temperature in the is going to be high. Be aware of that. Keep your home cool. Use the night to cool. Use the night air to cool down your temperature. It means open the windows if there's a breeze blowing and let the air come in. During the days when outdoors and the high indoors, close your windows. Cover them with blinds and shutters to block direct sunlight because that heats up the temperature inside. Turn off as many electrical devices as possible because, believe it or not, even with the modern day technology, it does generate more heat. Use electric fans when the temperature is below 40 degrees centigrade or 104 Fahrenheit. See the difference in temperature? And then the fans, if you use the air conditioner, set the thermostat to 27 centigrade, 81 Fahrenheit, and turn on the electric fan, which will move the cool air around. Remember that it may be cooler outdoors in the shade, but inside the heat penetrates. Keep your body cool and hydrated. That's number one. Never leave children and animals in parked vehicles because the temperature in vehicles will become unbearably hot. It's like being in an oven. So always remember to not leave animals or children, anybody in a closed-up car with windows closed and all like that. That's not running air conditioning. Avoid direct sunlight during the peak hours. And I say the peak hours is anywhere from like 12 noon in the summer to like around 4 in the afternoon when the sun starts to go down, basically. Dress children in light clothing, fitted clothing that covers their skin. Wide brim hats keep the sun off your face. Sunglasses, sunscreen, and follow the guidance of stuff. And this is something, if you go to WHO, you'll get a lot of this information. Okay, let's move on up here. And these are some of the references that I was talking about. And I just want to say that the heat, once again, is the leading cause of death and sickness of any season. And we have to be aware of that. And remember, like, as I say, June 1st is the beginning of the summer solstice. That's when we get the most daylight, starting this coming Sunday, June 1st. And then that continues all the way, I say, it starts, that's the longest day of the year, the hottest weather during the next 3 months. But then as we move towards September, October, we get into the autumn solstice, where things change and you get less sunlight. But we're talking about mainly in the northern hemisphere where we are. And that's very important to understand this. And I just want people to understand this about health and heat. If you have any questions, you can always, send it to me, Muata Greene, at Asbury Park TV. Also, just check out these things here on the WHO. This is the main part of their website, but they have a whole intensive stuff talking about health topics, emergencies, data, and everything. And this is so important this day because this is an international organization that gathers information around the world. So whether our government's collecting it or not, there's stuff going on around the world, and we can learn from that. I always say, we're a small part of the world, but we can learn from the rest and use that to benefit our people. Once again, thank you and stay cool. And once again, this is Muata, your weather guy.